Welcome to Manchester United News Update. Subscribe for more Manchester United news, match previews, and transfer updates. Neville sends worrying Amorim transfer message as Man United boss carries out unforgiving plan. Manchester United fans have been told how long it will take for head coach Ruben Amorim to turn them around by Gary Neville, and it appears that patience will be key. Since taking over in November, Amorim has won just 4 of 14 Premier League matches, with the Red Devils slipping further down the Premier League table to 15th. Closer to the relegation zone than the European spots, the pressure is naturally mounting on Amorim, and Neville says there is unlikely to be a quick fix at Man United if they are to stick by the former Sporting CP boss. It's going to be a minimum of 2 to 3 transfer windows because of the investment that's been made, and we know the club's on the edge of PSR, Neville told Sky Sports. They've lost £300 million in the last 3 years. So there's a real struggle and a real fight to be able to spend the money that they need in the transfer market as well. There's been a lot of waste in the last few years. Why Amorim's 3-4-3 could be his downfall. Neville, who also claimed that Bruno Fernandes is the only Man United player who would get into the Tottenham starting 11, explained why Amorim's marriage to a 3-4-3 system promises to be so complicated for the Red Devils to work with. It's a peculiar system, he said. You've got to find 2 midfield players who are good enough to play with each other and cover a lot of ground. You've got to find 3 centre-backs, with 2 of the outside ones capable of playing out wide in the full-back areas, when the wing-backs go forward. So you're asking for specialists throughout the team. It's not like other systems which are a little bit more forgiving. Man Utd's next match comes in the Premier League on Saturday against Everton at Goodison Park. Man United tabled dream free agent, but 2 Ruben Amorim warnings don't bode well. Manchester United will likely pursue their latest centre-back signing this summer ahead of Victor Lindelof and Johnny Evans' contract expiries. The aging pair's expected departures would leave Ruben Amorim with Matthijs de Ligt, Harry Maguire, Lenny Yoro, and Aiden Heaven as centre-back options for the start of next season. Lisandro Martinez could miss the rest of the calendar year after successfully undergoing surgery on an anterior cruciate ligament injury he suffered earlier this month. Noussair Mazraoui can cover in Amorim's back 3, while Luke Shaw would also fit the bill should he overcome his relentless injury woes and enter contention. However, the Portuguese tactician is primed to target the position as part of an aggressive first summer transfer window to accelerate his mammoth rebuild at Old Trafford. That said, United could face further budget limitations amid the pressure of complying with the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules. And without player sales, Amorim may need to turn to the free agent market to address some areas of his underperforming squad. Ex-Germany international Marcus Babel has recommended Bayer Leverkusen centre-back Jonathan Tah as an attractive option. But he isn't convinced players in and around their peak years will view United as an appealing destination this summer, and expects Amorim to target younger, less proven signings. Jonathan Tah is a great player at Bayer Leverkusen, and his contract is up at the end of the season. Babel told Express Sport on behalf of MUFC. He'd be a good fit for Man United's back 3, but the problem is I don't think he'll want to go to Man United. The issue is that the top players will not go to Man United. In my opinion, you have to bring in young players who are hugely talented because the older players in their prime will not want to join. You have to give Ruben Amorim time to bring in his players and work with the squad he has. Ferguson needed 5 years to win a trophy, so the club have to invest their time into Ruben Amorim. Amorim has lost 8 of his first 14 Premier League matches in charge of United, sparking an intense debate over whether his 3-4-3 system will work in English football even when he recruits more suited players. Babel isn't confident the 40-year-old's philosophy will garner the same success it did in Portugal due to how the game is primarily played in the modern day. He added, "To be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of defenses with 3 centre-backs. Most teams play with 1 striker, so it doesn't make sense to put 3 defenders on 1 attacker. In the past, it was different because more teams played with 2 strikers. It also means you lose a man in the midfield or up front, so it doesn't make sense to have so many players in the back line. I'm not sure whether a back 3 is the right style for Man United." Fabrizio Romano transfer news. Osimhen release clause, Huijsen bombshell, Darwin Núñez truth. Transfer expert Fabrizio Romano has provided an important update on several developing news stories, including the latest on Victor Osimhen, Huijsen, and Darwin Núñez. Victor Osimhen to leave Napoli. In his latest YouTube video, Romano confirmed that Victor Osimhen will leave Napoli on a permanent deal this summer. The Nigeria international is currently on loan at Galatasaray, and Manchester United have been heavily linked with the move in recent weeks. The contract of Victor Osimhen is formally valid until 2026, but he will return to Napoli from Galatasaray in the summer, and Napoli will not keep the player. Napoli want to sell Osimhen, and Osimhen wants to be sold, Romano admitted. The contract of Osimhen includes an extension of his release clause in case Napoli don't sell the player by the end of June. From July 1st, the release clause will be around 75 to 80 million euros. Many clubs are informed on the situation, including Manchester United. But they still haven't reached out to Osimhen's camp or Napoli. They are monitoring several strikers, but it's still too early to see who is going to be the new number 9 at Man United. Interest from Saudi is still there. Osimhen was one step away from joining Al Ahly on deadline day in the summer, but the deal collapsed and they signed Ivan Toney from Brentford. Huijsen release clause. Romano also provided crucial details regarding the future of Bournemouth star Huijsen. The Spaniard has enjoyed a fantastic debut season under Andoni Iraola, and he is being chased by a multitude of top European clubs ahead of the summer transfer window. Juventus have a 10% sell-on clause for Huijsen, Romano said. There is also a release clause in his Bournemouth contract worth €60 million, £50 million, valid from the summer of 2025. Many clubs are starting to call. As I told you in January, Chelsea are monitoring the player closely. Bayern Munich have also called about the player to be informed about the clause conditions, but their focus is currently on extending the contract of Dayot Upamecano. Newcastle United are calling constantly about the situation of Huijsen, and there will be many clubs in the race for the player. I expect Liverpool to sign an important centre-back in the summer transfer window, and Huijsen could be an attractive option. But there is still no direct contact. Kolo Muani to Juventus. Randall Kolo Muani joined Juventus on loan from Paris Saint-Germain in January, and after 5 goals in 5 games for the club, Romano has revealed that the Italian giants want to negotiate a permanent deal this summer. Kolo Muani is on loan at Juventus, and there is no buy option in the deal, but Juventus are already in talks with Kolo Muani's camp as they want to continue with the player, Romano told his YouTube channel. Juventus are preparing a conversation to start discussions with Paris Saint-Germain for Kolo Muani. Man United Academy coach Phil Jones names upcoming star who is an animal. Ruben Amorim could need him now. Manchester United's bench against Tottenham Hotspur contained 183 Premier League appearances, but they all belonged to one player. Victor Lindelof was the only player among Ruben Amorim's squad with senior experience in the top flight, with the United boss forced to name 7 academy players in his squad amid a host of injury problems. Lisandro Martinez and Amad Diallo are out for the season, while the likes of Kobbie Mainoo is facing an extended spell out. Up next is a trip to a resurgent Everton, and Amorim will hope to have some of his players back as the Red Devils take on the Toffees at Goodison Park. Amorim only made 1 sub against Spurs as Cheeto Obi-Martin was introduced in the 91st minute, with Casemiro making way. United signed the player from Premier League rivals Arsenal last year, with big things expected of the youngster. Jones hails Obi-Martin. Former Red Devils defender turned academy coach Phil Jones has called Obi-Martin an animal and believes he could be among the younger United players who could make a name for themselves in the coming years. He said on the latest episode of the No Tippy Tappy Football podcast with Sam Allardyce, working in and around the academy and helping those young players develop, United have some really good and talented young players coming through. The squad had a lot of injuries against Tottenham and the bench was full of kids, but there were some talented players on that bench. People might not know a lot about them now, but they certainly will in the next few years. I think you look at Kobbie Mainoo, top player, you look at Cheeto Obi-Martin, who we've just signed from Arsenal, who's an animal, you look at Amad Diallo, who had a couple of really good loans, and I remember watching him winning it against Liverpool in extra time last season, and I had said at that time he'd play a huge part in the next season. I played with Amad for a year or two, and you could see then that the quality he had was really good and really strong. As I said, there's a great crop of young players ready to be given the chance and integrated into the team. Obi-Martin could be thrust into spotlight. Given he was the only academy player introduced against Spurs, there is the very real possibility that the 17-year-old could be called upon again by Amorim between now and the end of the campaign. He has scored 12 goals in 12 appearances at youth level and could freshen up United's attacking options as they continue to struggle for goals. They have netted just 28 times in 25 Premier League fixtures.